Searching people and their property. So searching individuals and their personal possessions is a critical responsibility for security operatives aimed at ensuring safety and compliance with regulations. The process involves balancing the need of security with respect for the individual's rights and privacy. So understanding the appropriate techniques and protocols for conducting searches is essential to effectively identifying prohibited items whilst maintaining professionalism. So personal searches should always be conducted in a manner that maximizes privacy and respects the dignity of the individual. So searches should adhere to the least intrusive principle, meaning that the least invasive method that would achieve the objective should be chosen. So for example, if part of your policy is to detect metallic items, then a metal detector should be used rather than performing physical rub-down searches. Also important to know that if individuals express discomfort about being physically touched, physically searched, then you should also consider utilizing things like self-search techniques if permitted by the site policy. So the thoroughness and intrusiveness of the search must always be balanced against the reasonableness of the action taken, the severity of the harm being prevented, and whether the search is actually truly necessary. So for example, if the goal of the search policy is to restrict customers bringing in their own alcohol, then performing a highly intrusive procedure such as a body rub-down would be seen as excessive. Also consider, for example, if an item has been stolen, it wouldn't be reasonable to search, for example, handbags or pockets if the item you're looking for has been stolen was, for example, something large like a laptop or computer. So by adhering to the least intrusive principle, security personnel can ensure searches are conducted respectfully and effectively whilst maintaining the dignity of individuals whilst fulfilling the security responsibilities. So let's talk about the actual search in itself, and let's first of all look at the actual search area setup. So when you're preparing to search people and their personal belongings, it's important to choose a suitable location and ensure you've got the appropriate kit in place. So if possible, designated search areas that should be out of the view of general public, well lit and monitored by CCTV, and staffed in pairs where possible, as conducting searches alone, of course, increases the risk of allegations and the potential of violence or resistance. So the following precautions should be considered when set up a search area for people and their belongings. So first thing to consider then is the lighting. So person searches should be conducted in designated private areas out of the direct view of the public and should be well lit whenever possible. CCTV. So search areas should be clearly marked with CCTV signage that they're monitored by CCTV for the protection of both the individual being searched and the security operative conducting a search, and it also will make the customer feel a little bit more at ease knowing that it is on CCTV. Ideally, you have a search table. So a search table and a table needs to be large enough to accommodate both your equipment as well as the individual belongings without the risk of things having to pile up. Have a tray or a tub that you can put on the table so when the person does a self-search, empty stuff in their pockets, they can put it in that container, which stops things dropping off, stops things being put in, stops things from being taken out again. Have yourself a bin, like a waste paper bin, to dispose of things like receipts and chewing gum wrappers and other waste after the search. It's when you search people and they start taking all this stuff out of their pocket, old rubbish, etc. They don't want to take it with them, so you need somewhere to put it to keep the area tidy. Obviously, have yourself a metal detector wand to identify any types of concealed metal objects if need be. Maybe even a drug amnesty box, depending on the policy, where people can actually offer up any illegal substances that can be put in evidence bags and put in a safe. In addition, also, if you take drugs from people, depending on the state policy, you may not be arresting people, maybe seizing the drugs and refusing them entry, and you need somewhere to put those drugs somewhere which is safe, which shows a continuity of the chain of custody of the item to be handed to the police. In addition, it may be good to have a sharps box. Again, depending on the policy where you work in, a sharps bin to be able to put needles or other sharps in. If that's unavailable, you could even ad lib with things like a bottle. You put the needle in and put a bit of tissue on top so it can be taken to a proper place for it to be disposed of. Having biohazard bags, just in case there's any types of hazardous materials that may be discovered during the search that may need to be put in, including things like discarded or blood-stained tissue. Have yourself a torch, to be able to look in maybe people's pockets or in bags and stuff, in sort of dark areas to help visibility. Make sure you've got your PPE. So that's things like your face mask and your gloves, obviously protect you and protect them. And have a record book. Okay, so you must maintain records of all searches being conducted, particularly if things are found. Have yourself evidence bags, maybe larger evidence bags, for the put feet if need be. But again, all coming down to the site policy. And this is just giving a general idea of all the things that you might have. So in addition to that, you may have Things like the little tickets, raffle tickets, not to conduct a raffle, but if you're going to take the prohibited items from people and look after them, and when they come back out, they need something to be able to match out. So you just save them just writing their name down or whatever. You can actually give them a ticket for that. And of course, make sure you got yourself a radio to be able to communicate with other colleagues and externally if need be. Okay, so let's now have a look at searching a person step by step. So remember, you should be friendly and it should be done in a routine manner. The approach needs to help reduce feelings of embarrassment. You never discriminate, be assertive and firm, remaining consistent, polite and courteous. So you should conduct same-sex searches where possible. Exceptions apply if a person, for example, transgender person requests a specific gender of an operative, or it's a self-search techniques are used, or depending on the actual policy, inclusivity policy of the venue where you're working. Person approaches were looking to halt the person to be searched, slightly raise one arm, greet them, followed by explaining the entry policy and request permission to perform the search. So for example, could be, good evening, sir. Just part of the venue entry conditions this evening, we are conducting random searches, while obviously gesturing towards the search sign, so obviously they can read that if they want to. Do you have any objections to being searched? So you're now looking for the consent inquiry. So once consent is being granted, inquire whether the individual possesses any items they shouldn't have or any items that could injure themselves or others. So this gives them the opportunity to disclose innocent or illegal items that they may possess and the reasons for having them. So, for example, they may have drugs and may turn around and say, well, I got a prescription for this. They may have some type of tool on them and say, well, I'm just turning from work. They may have some type of instrument which they may actually turn around and say, I'm only carrying this for self-defense, etc. So while being aware that whatever the excuse they give you, it may not be truthful, but it can also guide you for further questioning. So the first thing to start off with is the self-search. So you request the self-search by asking them to remove their bags and other outer garments, empty and turn out their pockets and placing items on the search table or tray as appropriate. Ensure that they don't discard of any litter or anything yet. Oh, I got this. Oh, I'll throw this in a bin. No. Just put it on a side there, throw it in a bin afterwards, just in case they're trying to discard of any types of prohibited or illegal items. Then ask the individual to show their waistband and other high-risk areas. So it could be the case of just lifting up or bringing their jacket back here, lifting up their waistband, obviously make sure we're not showing skin. And it could be just a case as well of getting them to lift their trousers where their boots meet the bottom of the trousers to see if anything is concealed there. So then start with a metal detector. Ask the person to raise their arms comfortably while you move the detector around the area covered by the clothing. So start to move the detector from behind the individual down the back of their neck, repeating at the closest side underneath their arm, and then the front, followed by the arms if closed. And you can then invite them to lower their arms if they appear to be uncomfortable. Then crouch down at the side, repeat the search on the lower body, and then step out, step around, repeat the process on the other side. If you've got an archway metal detector, of course, once the person has done the self-search, ask the person to walk through slowly. If the detector alarms, ask the person to come back, remove the metallic items from the person, place on the table, and then repeat the process. And now looking at the actual body search. Body searching should be thorough, should be systematic to ensure nothing is overlooked. You should develop a consistent method for searching to minimize the risk of missing any areas. Acceptable methods might include standing with the arms out like a scarecrow, legs slightly apart, fingers splayed, searching front head to toe, then turning the individual around and searching their back. Another one could be one arm raised at a time, resting the arm on the security officer's shoulder while searching each side head to toe, then searching front to back. Another example could be both arms raised with the security officer holding the individual's hand closest to them, search one-handed to prevent potential attacks. So though methods may vary, the overall goal is to conduct a thorough search efficiently and also to limit the duration to avoid customer dissatisfaction. Now, you would have seen lots of different methods, and some people say there's no right or wrong way of searching. Of course there is. There's ways where you don't search thorough enough, there's ways you just too thoroughly, there's ways you put your hands in a pocket, etc. But a lot of it in relation to arms up, arms down, hands on the side is down to a personal preference. The way I kind of look at it is if I was going to be searched, how would I like to be searched? And me personally, I don't want to be holding my arms up for long periods of time. I don't want to be resting my hands on someone's shoulder. And I don't want someone behind me, when I can't see what they're doing. But it's going to depend on the site policy and often going to be a supervisor and a position, a trainer you got. But let's have a look at the couple of positions. Let's have a look at the arms out T position. So should you do it or not? So whilst the T position, where the arms out to the side, can be effective for a brief period of time during a search, holding arms out for an extended or too long could lead to discomfort of a T, which could be perceived as a stress position. So it's important for security personnel to be mindful of how long they maintain the posture. So depending on the individual, the security officers may consider adjusting the search technique. So for example, you can momentarily ask them to bring their arms down and alter the approach to maintain the effectiveness without inducing discomfort. So it could be, bring out your arm out to the side, mate, search down this side. Okay, bring the arm down now, they come out to the other side. So a recommended method, and the one emphasized in this session, is known as a quadrant rub-down search. This approach is both systematic and efficient. The rub-down refers to a cursory search of a closed individual where a firm continuous contact rubbing motion is employed, as opposed to a patting which might miss concealed items. So if you visualize the body of having 4 quadrants in 2 groups, so you've got upper left and lower left, upper right and lower right, where you're going to search one group at a time. So if you start at the head, so begin at the top of the person's head, visually expecting headgear, headpieces, hair extensions and hair. Then you're going to move down to the neck and shoulders, checking just around the top of the shirt, the collar, lapels and tie if they're wearing one. Then you're going to come down to the top of the shoulders and the arms, where you can use the front of the palm, search one arm closest to you at a time. So you're going to search the front and the back of the shoulder, all the way down to making sure you follow the contours of the arm to make sure you're checking for anything which is abnormal. And then request that they splay their fingers just in case they are hiding anything here. Again, depending on the policy and what you're searching for. But obviously, whilst you're going down there, just pay close attention to the underside of the armpits here and also round the wristbands. Now going to go on to the actual front and back of the body. And obviously, that's a bit more personal here. So we're not going to use the front of the palms. We're going to use the back of the palms. We're going to use what's known as a butterfly technique. So we're going to conduct searches on both the front and the back and the side of the body all at the same time, from the nape of the neck all the way down to the waistband for males. And what you're going to do is you're going to cross your arms over. And so if a person is really narrow, you'll use this amount. As they get bigger, as they get bigger, as they get bigger, you can use the arms wider in case they're very big, in which case you would need to do a separate one on the side. So the technique allows you to cover all areas and to make the search as quick as possible, less intrusive, while respecting their dignity at the same time. So with female staff, remember they should only be searching females from underneath the breast area down to the waistband and not searching the breast area itself. Then we're going to look at searching the legs. So if you kneel down on one side, rub down with the back of your palms, the closest leg from the groin, ankle, and the same with the butt. Where you're being attentive to rear pockets just to make sure there's anything sticking there. And then when you're coming around to the front, you're just going to search from just above the knee down. So you're avoiding the genital area and you're then going down to the shoe or the boot. And then when you get to the bottom there, you just use the front of the palms just to go around the top of the sock, top of the boot to make sure there's nothing stashed inside the sock. So things like a footwear check. So if footwear could conceal the type of item that you are searching for, you could ask the individual to remove their shoes. But again, that's going to be based on the site policy. And if you do that, obviously got to return them immediately. But also consider if you're starting to ask a person to take their shoes off, if you suspect them that much of having something, you may be best just to refuse them entry based on that suspicion. So once you've done one side, you're literally just going to step out, so not in front of him, come around and do the same on the other side. Things like the waistband inspection. So after you've done the body search, you can also examine the waistband by asking the individual to either lift their outer garment to visually inspect the area, or you can actually get them to do it. You can just get them to pinch the belt either side and just give a little shake to see if anything drops out. So consider that when you're conducting searches, they need to be completed as quickly and effectively and efficiently as possible. Ensure the individual is treated with respect and professionalism whilst carrying out the search. So now we're going to look at moving on to the person's personal effects. So a search cannot be performed on a person or their property without the person's consent. So remember, the person's property is legally regarded as an extension of themselves. Thus, searches conducted on vehicles, baggage, clothing, etc. may be classified as an assault unless permission is granted. So therefore, you need to treat each piece of property as a new search and seek permission each time a new item is examined or opened. So consider even things like a wallet. Is this your wallet here? Do you mind if I open it up for you? Okay, can you sit and you hold it out, make sure they can see you can say, oh, this compartment here, can I open that? So each time you search a new compartment, for example, within a bag or in a wallet or something or on a phone, you are permission for doing so. Searching property must be conducted in plain sight, ideally witnessed by a third party or under the use of CCTV. Never put your hands in people's pockets, never put your hands in people's bags, never put your hands within compartments of wallets that you can't see or purses, and always ask the owner to open or empty them to assist you. So if permission is given to remove something from a pocket or bag, do not do it yourself. Try to avoid it, to obviously accusations of planted evidence or theft. So things that you could use to look inside, to utilize things like a torch or a radio aerial to check if the bag's empty. If an item is discovered, then request a customer to remove it for inspection. So remain polite but firm. So insist that the owner empties or opens the requested areas if need be, except, for example, if it's just like a wallet and it's here and there's a little compartment there, rather than giving to, can you open that? Can you open that button, please? You could say, is it okay to do that? Do it in front of them so you got the evidence there. So security officer hat on again for a second here. So imagine as part of a security officer's role, you're asked to search the employee's locker, desk or drawers, for example. So some sites provide lockers for employees who need to change their clothing for their duty, for example, and tool lockers may also be issued to tradesmen. So in most instances, permissions to use a locker facility will include an agreement that it may be searched by authorized personnel as per the site search policy. So when searching an employee's locker, desk, or drawer, other personal item, the best practice is to have the employee present. This also applies to the search of a contractor's tool locker. So if they cannot be present and there's an urgent need to proceed, then the search can be conducted in the presence of impartial persons such as employee's representative or a trade union official to avoid any allegations of misconduct by searching the staff. So looking for suspicious items during the search. So customers may use various methods to attempt to sneak prohibited items on the premises. Therefore, understanding different items that customers may disguise innocuous is beneficial. So if you look online nowadays, there's many types of counterfeit items that exist that conceal contraband. So just some examples of those are lighters. So you get the stash lighters. So they've got like a lighter, and if you peel around the end, there's like a little bottle there where you can stick a powder, cocaine, ketamine, or even things like cannabis they can stick inside the lighter. And it's so very clever. So I used to say to people, if you think it's a stash lighter, just try and light it, and it doesn't light. But guess what? Now they bloody do, don't they? So just keep an eye out for that. Aerosol cans, they also can have like false bottoms for storage. Alcohol, obviously hidden in soft drink containers. So things like, if soft drinks are permitted, just checking the seal to make sure that it is closed, and if it's open, maybe just ask permission, can I undo that, and just smell it. Don't taste it, just smell it. Sometimes things like stash belts are considered small quantities of drugs, where a belt has got a little compartment in the back where people can stash prohibited or illegal items in. Things like hairbrushes or makeup accessories also have hidden compartments, tins or cans with secret screwed compartments on them. And then things like innocent appearing containers, things like for festivals, believe it or not, people will come in with kids and they've got baby food. Well, who's going to check the baby food, right? And so what can often happen is people can empty out their baby food and fill it with alcohol, put it back on, because who's going to check the baby food? So, I'm going over the top. If there is baby food and you got prohibition of alcohol coming in, you may just want to check the top just to make sure they are tight. They're not tight. They've not been sealed. Undo them, just have a little smell. So with things like the tins or the cans or the aerosols, etc., if you just run your fingernail just around the base of the can, that will help you identify whether it's fake. Also try at the bottom, just try twisting it clockwise and anti-clockwise to see if it's going to undo. The thing is, there's only so much you can do to prevent things coming in, but it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, there's that much stuff nowadays that are available to people buy online to sneak stuff in. They're going to get it in, they're going to get it. But the question is, are they going to get it in past you? Are they going to think they got one over on you because they brought the alcohol in, hidden this container and that container? So there's just a couple of tips. There's lots of other stuff out there. It's important to stay up to date, or just search it online. Go online, just type in, stash cans, search, containers for smuggling in drugs or alcohol into events and premises. And what you'll see is a myriad of websites that allow